Alright, what's going on, everybody? Today I wanted to quickly go over how I do my vocal processing for rap lyrics. Specifically, I'm in the trap niche, so I do a lot of autotune, a lot of saturation, stuff like that. If you're doing the classic sort of boom bap sort of vibe, this might not all apply to you. But for everybody that's going after that sort of mainstream trap sound nowadays, this is going to be the video for you. So as an example here today, I'm going to use my latest 1 minute Trigon trap track. That's quite the mouthful. On my Look At Me Now beat here. So we'll just quickly go over all the different layers and tracks that I have recorded, and then I will go through how I process them to sound the way that they ended up sounding like. Okay, so first a little disclaimer before we start with this video. The actual processing of your vocal recordings is not going to make or break your sound. It's really one of those things where most people think that they can just record however they want to into a microphone and then just do a whole bunch of editing on it and then make it sound like Drake or whatever. That's really not the case. It's a lot about how you record it and how you use your voice in the first place. Alright, so now let's jump into Ableton and take a look at what we actually got here. Alright, so if you can see right here, I have a total of 3 tracks for the chorus, for the hook, and then 1 for the verse with a down-pitched layer as well as another harmony up here. So let's start with the hook and just give that a quick listen to what it sounds like right now with all the processing, with all the effects done and mixed and finished, ready to go.
Grown, no fears now. Who would've thought that I'd be standing on top, still feel down? Who would've thought that I could look into the mirror, feel no guilt now? Who would've thought I've been on the run for way the longest time to stop?
Okay, so that was the hook here. So if we look at it, I actually have it all color-coded here. So the way that I go about organizing all of my vocal tracks is all of the vocal stuff is going to be monochrome, so just black and white essentially. And the lighter the track is, the higher in pitch it is. So you can see here for the hook, I have my normal layer, right, which is kind of the main top line. Then I have it pitched down and I have it pitched up as well. That's sort of what I like doing for hooks. It fills out the frequency range a lot more than if you were just to rock just your main top line here. So let's hear those individual parts here. So this is just going to be just the top line itself, the main melody, everything edited here.
I'm grown, no fears now. Who would have thought that I'd be standing
so on and so forth, right? Then underneath I have the pitch down version.
Look at me now, I'm grown, no fears now. Who would have thought that
Yeah, okay, so this is actually not pitched down, but rather this is just me singing a lower harmony into the microphone. And then I have the pitched up part right here, which sounds a little like that.
Look at me now, I'm grown, no fears now. Who would have thought that I'd be standing on top?
And this as well has been sung in as a harmony. So it's not just the same track copied down, pitched up, copied down, pitched down. I've done that before and it still works, but it gives it a lot more character if you actually record separate takes for each and then also do separate harmonies for each. Okay, so before we get into the effect side of things, let's just listen to it dry. Now this is going to be a little painful, but let's just go through it.
Look at me now, I'm grown, no fears now. Who would have thought that I'd be standing on top, still feel down?
Okay, so that's the dry signal, right? Now, obviously, microphone quality will play a role, stuff like that, which preamps you use, what interface you have, so on and so forth. But really, most of the things you can actually revive with software, with the plugins, even if you have a lower quality microphone, anything like that. Like I've been working with rappers that literally record through their iPhone headphone microphone, and it's amazing what you can actually get out of that once you throw on some plugins and stuff like that. Okay, so now let's start looking through the actual effects that are on this. So of course, there's a bunch of saturation. That's really what my first step is with any rap vocals nowadays, just to kind of give it that grunginess, give it that kick. Right after that, it's Autotune time, which again, if you listen to any of my music or any of the music in sort of the genre that I'm flying around in, there's obviously going to be a lot of Autotune. So funny enough, actually, I prefer a free Autotune version. Right, so this right here is an Autotune plugin called Auto Pitch. It's completely for free. You can actually download an entire plugin suite from this company. And I do also have Autotune access from actual Antares, so like the brand name Autotune. But I have the smallest version of that, and to be completely honest, I am not quite a fan of the sound of it. I like the sound of it more, but the amount of autotune that it can put on there really isn't that much. It's good probably for singers and such, but for rap where it's a lot of very fast tone changes, it's not really the best. So that's why I'm still rocking M auto pitch here. Now obviously I have selected the correct scale, which for this beat right here is E flat minor. Now this is something that's really important, and I see a lot of people not actually setting the right scale on their autotune. They just set it to chromatic or whatever, which will just adjust to the nearest tone that you're actually singing to or rapping on. But if you actually put it into the scale, it'll make sure that it's never going to correct your vocals onto a pitch that is not within the same scale as the beat and as the whole track. So that's something that's really important, and many people just overlook that. So definitely make sure that you're setting your autotune scale. And then again, for my stylization here, I have the depth and the speed, so that mount essentially all the way up. Right, now after autotune, I put some delay and reverb on most of my tracks actually, but I use it very sparingly. Delay and reverb, once again, is one of those things that gets overused a lot. And the problem with that is that delay and reverb both are effects that add to the mix, right? It's not like an EQ where you take out frequencies. Delay and reverb add more noise, essentially. So you can really use that to create some really nice artistic effects, but if you overuse it, if you don't dial it down enough, it's just going to make everything sound super muddy, and that's obviously not quite what we're looking for here. So I have my delay filtered all the way down here, as well as the dry wet knob is sitting at around 30%. Same thing with the reverb. Like, I have the decay time of the reverb set to 900 milliseconds, so very short reverb. And once again, the dry wet knob is sitting at around 30% to not overwhelm anything. Like, that's really all I do just to get this sound.
Look at me now, my grown, no fears now. Who would have thought that I'd be...
Right, you can really subtly hear that delay in the background. And then what I do with the other tracks here, so in this case with the lower pitch one as well as with the pitched up version here, is that I play around with the delays and I switch some settings. So as you can see here with the main melody, I have my delay set to quarter notes, whereas with the lower part I have it set to sixth notes, and then the pitched up version is set to eighth notes. And that again just creates some more variation. So right here at the end, let me just solo all four or all three here.
I've been on the run for way the longest time, stop.
Right, because I got that beat break in there, and at that point in time there's 3 different delays at 3 different speeds with 3 different filters, so it creates a lot of movement in just that short delay period, I guess, where you don't hear anything but the delay from these tracks. And yeah, when it comes to the lower parts here, it's basically the same exact effects. With the pitched up version, same exact thing. I really just, I do it once and I copy it over and adjust accordingly. Right, so after that here for the chorus, I also have this little chop track here, where I just take little parts of the beginning of the actual line and I just chop them up. So in this case, right, I have a little more delay on that and it's a little quieter in the mix, stuff like that. Right, so something really interesting. I've heard this more and more lately in different tracks, but I still feel like it's something that's underused by many people. Now, you could argue that in this track I went a little overboard with it. I did a lot of it, especially here leading into the rap part.
Yeah.
Right, where I even do some pitch automation there. But I don't know, I fuck with it. It's a really cool sound effect and I really like it. And that's why I keep on using it, and I will probably use it a lot more. Okay, so let's get over here to the actual rap part. Now, for the rap part, it's important that you go even lighter on delay and reverb. So I have the reverb, for example, my dry wet is sitting at 12%, and my decay time, once again, is around 900 milliseconds. Just because, especially in the parts where you rap fast, right, especially in the parts where there's a lot of syllables coming out of you anyway, if you then drench it in reverb and a lot of delay, that it's just gonna get so muddy that you won't be able to hear anything. Now, I know this is German, so many people out there won't be able to fully understand what I'm saying here, but the sound is still gonna be the same thing, right? So if we just solo this.
Ich kann mich noch klar daran erinnern, als die Welt noch heile war, wir waren da noch Kinder. Aber mir war klar, ich bin ein geiler Herr Gewinner. Damals wusste ich gar nicht.
If you solo the track, you can hear the delay and the reverb. Actually, more so the delay. You can hear it quite well, but once it's sitting in the final mix, it's really not that apparent. So it's more so a background thing, but you're again not being overwhelmed by it. Right, and other than that, I have the same amount of distortion here with the saturator. and most of the other effects are all the same as well. What I do sometimes for rap parts, if I want to accentuate certain parts, is I will actually copy down this part right here, for example, into a new track, which is basically exactly what I was doing here. And from there on out, I will just pitch it down 12 semitones to get an effect like this. Now I also EQ'd this quite a bit to take out all the frequencies that I don't want. I know this EQ looks super weird, but it just kind of acts like this carpet that's sitting underneath the main rap vocals. So when it comes in, it gives it a little more girth, but it's not overwhelming again.
Ich bin nicht erwachsen, doch als Kind da wollte ich nichts mehr. Als mein Leben nur ein Tag zu leben, wie ich's lebe. Zu sehen, wie ich Tag für Tag woanders stehe. Zu spüren, was es heißt, einfach nicht aufzugeben.
Right, so you can hear that it's there, but it's not in your face, right? It's not supposed to be a main part that you can really hear, but more so just something to accentuate the actual main line here. And then I also like playing around with some harmonies even in the rap parts. So if we also now solo this part up here, which is just a harmony again to the main rap part.
Zu spüren, was es heißt, einfach nicht aufzugeben. Keinen Fick zu geben, über dem Gerede stehen. Spürte deren Blicke auf meinem Rücken, doch blieb niemand stehen. Und ich werde mich auch niemals rücken. Hab schon viel erlebt, doch heute blick ich gern zurück. Ja, eine lange Reise und jetzt kommt das nächste Stückchen.
Right? So it's just an extra harmony on top, which once again, for that specific part, when you hear it in the final mix, it just sticks out a little more. It accentuates that part of the track a little more, which is sort of what I was going for here. Now, of course, with your track, you might have different parts where you want to throw in different harmonies, or you might not want any harmonies at all. It all depends on the sound that you're going for. But this is just what I went with here. And that's already basically it. Like, that's really all I was doing to it. Now, I know it always sounds a little easier than it actually is, but to achieve a sound like this, you don't need to drench it in 50 different plugins and this and that and whatever. Like, I don't even EQ my vocals in this case here, right? Because I EQ'd the beat and mixed the beat so it works with putting vocals on top. So I don't really have to worry much about that. So I took out frequencies where I didn't want certain frequencies, but generally speaking, it's very simple effects chain here. Then one other thing that I really want to emphasize here is panning. Guys, you need to pan your vocals. Not the main line, like the lead vocals, they want to be straight in the middle. But all the sort of accessory sounds, right? The pitched up, the pitched down, the harmonies, whatever, pan it. Don't pan it hard, don't go like 100% left, 100% right. But for example, you can see right here, the lower part, the lower harmony of the hook, it's actually sitting in the same track as the harmony for the verse, and I have that panned about 30-ish% to the right, whereas the pitched up part is roughly 30% to the left channel, right? To just kind of give it a little bit of a wider image. And you can do the same thing with down here, for example, where I have that down pitch part of the verse, that I just pan about 20-ish% to the left, which just, again, if it's all sitting in one spot, then it's really hard to make out different sounds, right? Whereas if you have the main vocals in the middle and then on the side, that's where you have your accessory vocals, is I guess just what I'm going to call it here. That just creates a wider image, leaves more space in the middle for your lead vocals so they don't get all muddied up with the down pitch stuff, especially if you down pitch, because obviously you introduce a lot of bass frequencies, which you will of course also have to take care of. Them not colliding with the 808s and the kick drums and stuff like that. That's why I did so much EQing here. And if you just kind of develop a little bit of an ear on how loud stuff should be, it's fairly straightforward to just adjust the levels to where nothing is overwhelmingly loud or whatever, right? And then especially if you start layering your vocals like I did here with the 3 different pitches essentially, it's important that you first of all pan it and second of all adjust the gain accordingly so nothing is too loud. Right, so obviously the main vocal part is going to be the loudest, and then the pitch down stuff, especially the higher pitched tracks, they tend to increase a lot in perceived gain or loudness. So I just take those down a little more, and that's really it. So I really hope that you guys found this helpful in one way or another, that you maybe can apply some of these tips on your own vocal recordings. I know many people out there are just working in a home studio. You have your microphone in your bedroom and you just rock with it. And that's the same thing that I'm doing. So you can achieve the exact same sound that I'm having here with plugins that either come with Ableton or are free to get. Like in this case right here with the entire vocal production on this specific track, I don't have a single plugin that costs money. But yeah, enough with the rambling now. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found something helpful in here. Let me know if you have any other questions on vocal editing, mixing, processing, stuff like that. I would be happy to help you guys out. Also, feel free to give me a follow on Instagram for more daily content revolving this sort of topic. And other than that, I hope that you learned something today and have a happy, healthy, and productive rest of your day. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.